I was only 14, a story of trust, deception, and survival. At just 14 years old, I was living a simple life, trying to focus on my education while my dad worked tirelessly to provide for our family. He was the sole breadwinner, and my mother stayed home to care for us. Despite my father's hard work, we often struggled to make ends meet. Some days, we barely had enough to eat, just one meal at night. Even though I was young, I understood the weight of our financial struggles and the sacrifices my parents made. One day, while running an errand with my youngest sister, I encountered an older man. He was driving a clean, well-kept car, and his appearance was neat and polished. He stopped to ask for directions, speaking kindly and politely. Something about him seemed safe, even comforting. I thought to myself, maybe this is God answering my prayers for my family. As we spoke, he asked about my family and where we lived. When I told him about our struggles, he seemed genuinely concerned. He asked for my mother's number, saying he wanted to help us. I hesitated but eventually shared the number, hoping this man could be the answer to the prayers I had whispered in desperation. A few days later, he visited our home and spoke with my mother. He told her he wanted to help me stay in school and provide for our family in small but meaningful ways. My mother, grateful for the offer of help, accepted. Soon, he began bringing groceries and school supplies. He even bought me gifts, things like a phone and treats I had only dreamed of. It felt like a blessing, and I was so thankful for his generosity. But as the weeks passed, I noticed his behavior beginning to change. At first, he started showing up more frequently, often in the evenings. I thought he was just checking on us, but something about his visits began to feel off. He started making odd comments and asking questions that made me uncomfortable. Then one day, everything shifted. He asked me to touch him inappropriately. I was shocked and terrified. I froze, unable to process what was happening. I didn't tell my parents. How could I? This man had gained their trust, and I was just a child, scared and confused. His visits continued, and every time, he pushed further, asking me to do things that felt wrong and violating. I felt trapped in silence, unsure how to escape. I wanted to scream and tell someone, but fear held me back. One evening, he offered to drive me to visit my dad, who was working far away. My mother trusted him and agreed. During the drive, he said something that left me in shock. He calmly told me that he planned to have sex with me that night. I felt my heart sink as his words echoed in my mind. The man I thought was a good Samaritan turned out to be a predator. Betrayal, fear, and confusion consumed me. As the car sped along the road, I stared out the window, silently praying for a way out. Subscribe now to follow my journey and see what happens next in episode 2.